Thank you for joining us. So the tribunal has released its fifth order to the federal government.
Yes.
What do you think has been accomplished for the First Nations kids in the past 2 years?
Well, not much, and that's why there's been five orders and 4 non-compliance orders. But today, I think the tribunal's order is very specific. It's time limited, and that means that the government has to act on those decisions, or it could risk being found in contempt. And I was really pleased to hear the minister's statement to say they are going to comply, and now we all need to wait to see that that happens, because to me, this has always been about change on the ground for kids.
Right. Well, and the response was fairly quick. Minister Philpott said today, sent out 105 letters to First Nations that they will cover the actual cost. What's your response to that?
That's been something we've actually been asking for many years. Mm-hmm. And so I'm glad that on the heels of this order, the tribunal has required them to fund at actual costs. And not only that, the tribunal doesn't want Canada to profit from its discrimination. So it has to go back to the date of the original decision, January 26, and reimburse those actual costs going back 2 years. So all of that means more services, more supports for families and for their children. And I'm really pleased about that. I'm really grateful to the tribunal, and I hope to see Canada fully comply.
What else needs to happen, though? I mean, in a perfect world, where does it go from here?
In a perfect world, what we need to see is Canada to expand the models that it will provide funding for child welfare to respect First Nations jurisdiction. That recommendation has been on the books for 18 years. Right now, Canada will only provide funding to First Nations agencies if they operate under provincial statutes. The second thing that needs to happen is implementation of Spirit Bear's plan. We know that the inequalities in First Nations child welfare echo across education, early childhood, child and maternal health, mental health, and other basics like water and housing. And Spirit Bear's plan is get the parliamentary budget officer to cost all those things out, and then develop a plan to eradicate them. Let's make this the first generation of kids who doesn't have to dream of equality. They actually can live it.
I mean, you make it sound easy. I guess it just takes some political will, right?
It does, and you think about it, every other kid in this country already gets the basics that First Nations children are striving for. So if they can do it for every other child in the country, then they certainly should be able to do it for First Nations kids. And it shouldn't take a week, it shouldn't take a month, it should be done today.
Cindy, thank you so much for joining us. Thanks.
Oh, thank you for having us.